Ladies and gentlemen, so yesterday I made a video saying Trump is not a convicted felon, and Trump will not be a convicted felon. It doesn't matter what the jury says, whether they find you guilty or not. You are not officially a convicted felon until you are sentenced by the judge for the so-called conviction. That is when the conviction goes into the system and you've been sentenced. But until you've been sentenced, it's nothing. And people in the comments are, Vlad, what are you talking about? Well, constitutional attorneys, lawyers have come out and said that Trump needs to sue Joe Biden, CNN, MSNBC, and anybody else that has called him a convicted felon because he's not a convicted felon. Pull him up in the criminal convicted felon database. He's not. And we're about to watch those videos. We're also going to see the ace card that Trump has played that guarantee if they pull Biden, Trump is going to flip a blue state that has been held down by the Democrats for over 50 states. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to One Nation Under God. I got to give a big shout out to the sponsor of today's live. That is Midas Gold Group. Ladies and gentlemen, inflation is out of control. Government spending is ridiculous. They are printing trillions of dollars every month. For what? Just to give them to countries that hate us. But physical, constitutional, in your hands money, gold and silver. Now, Midas Gold Group, they are patriots, veteran, family-owned Trump supporters who donate to the Trump campaign, non-commission based salespeople, and you can get free silver and qualifying orders when you tell them Vlad sent you. So go to MidasGoldGroup.com or call them at 480-360-3000, or you can text that number down below. By the way, as soon as you're in, please give this video a thumbs up. Let me know that you can see me, that you can hear me. Now, let's get into the very first part of this. We're going to go to my Twitter page. This is where I've been sharing everything that's happening. We're going to watch this video first.
Felon. Is it now fair to say that we can push back on this idea that Trump's a convicted felon? It's kind of TBD. Is that fair, Will? Based on the Supreme Court decision that they got to that conclusion, maybe using unconstitutional means.
Trump is not a convicted felon. Let's say that again. Trump is not a convicted felon. A jury verdict is not a final judgment until the moment of sentencing, which now may never occur.
I love that.
Trump is not a convicted felon.
That's a huge narrative wrinkle. I think that's important, Will, because they're saying this every day. Is it cause for the Trump campaign to be able to sue when they say convicted felon, or is that because it's technically not correct?
I'm going to watch my words here, but I'll say that we sued George Stephanopoulos for defamation, or President Trump sued George Stephanopoulos for defamation. If I were folks on the left, I would choose their words very carefully in the months ahead.
When Will Scharf makes a statement like that, you better take notes and listen very carefully. I interrupted you. Just repeat it one more time.
Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? The Trump legal team is coming out and saying Trump is not a convicted felon. The ruling of the Supreme Court has actually said that the guilty verdict was pretty much built in illegal and unconstitutional ways. This is why the Democrats rushed to find Trump guilty, at least in some case, in some state, somehow get a guilty verdict so that he's a convicted felon and sentence him. Everything was going by the plan of the Democrats, right? They finally got their conviction. Then they were going to sentence him. And the rumor was Alvin Bragg was going to ask for 1 year of jail in Rikers Island. And Trump was supposed to be sentenced and thrown into jail for a year just 4 days before the Republican National Convention. What happened? After the Supreme Court ruling, Judge Merchan rescheduled the sentencing. Alvin Bragg didn't oppose to it, and he didn't reschedule it for a week or a month ahead. September 18th. Why? Because that gives enough time for the appellate court to overturn everything on the Supreme Court grounds.
Trump is not a convicted felon. Why? A jury decision is not a final conviction. Is that correct?
Yeah. When we say convicted felon, we're talking about a final judgment. Final judgment is not entered until the point of sentencing. So the fact that the jury returned a guilty verdict does not make President Trump a convicted felon. Until the day he is sentenced, he is not a convicted felon. And now it looks like he may not be sentenced at all. We've pushed back sentencing over 2 months. And Judge Merchan acknowledges in his order that sentencing may not even be required in this case, which indicates that he believes, as the prosecution clearly believes, as we certainly believe, that there are deep evidentiary issues in the way that this case was presented at trial, certainly deep issues relating to the Supreme Court's opinion on Monday. And as a result, again, President Trump is not a convicted felon, and I do not believe he will be a convicted felon.
That is huge.
Boom! Ladies and gentlemen, can I just take a moment before we go back and we could watch some other stuff that is Trump's ace card after ace card after ace card. Finally, after 3.5 years of us, Trump supporters, fighting for truth, fighting for a victory, but we just couldn't get a break. It was the indictments, it was the raid, it was all the BS, and it was all the Trump. We thought the Trump people that would be loyal to Trump, like DeSantis, backstabbing him, going against him. Here we are. We are finally getting a win after win after win. Now, really quickly, we gotta check up on Joe Biden. How is Joe Biden doing? Breaking report. Biden tells key ally he's considering departing the presidential race. Okay. That's actually happening. I don't want to waste your time on the article. Just know there are leaks and there are rumors that Joe Biden himself is saying, I might not run. But here's the issue. Here's the issue with them taking Biden off the ballot. We are going back to my Twitter page, and you have to watch this. Let me make this full screen. Start it from the beginning.
7% for Donald Trump. So at this point, in my mind, she's a generic Democrat. At this point, looking at this data, I am not really quite sure that Democrats can do any worse than they are doing with Joe Biden at the top of the ticket.
So CNN, all the liberal pundits are now like, okay, Biden needs to jump off the train. But there was a primary election held. There was a Democratic primary election that went state to state to state, and Biden is the presumptive nominee because of those results. Different states have different laws on how to get on a presidential ballot. And all, just watch. I don't want, ladies and gentlemen, just watch.
Another national poll shows 50% would support Michelle Obama.
Again, these polls are PSYOP polls, but
to Trump's 30-minute radio host. Actually, I cannot believe that when I read all of these stories that this is actually happening. I mean, we're in July. I mean, the election's in November, and the Democrats at this point aren't sure who's going to be the nominee or even be running for president if the president indeed were to step aside, because of, obviously
so much drama.
The whole thing is just so crazy. It's unbelievable.
Well, and here's some important dates. It's not even about November. And this is why I have a hard time believing that this is actually going to happen and Biden is going to step away.
Yeah.
And I've said this in my live 2 days ago. I do not believe that Biden is going to drop out, because if he does, there are 2 states that whoever they put in place cannot be on the ballot. And those states are crucial to the victory of the Democrats.
You've got August 7th as the deadline to get on the ballot in Ohio.
Yeah.
In Washington State, you have the deadline to have a candidate that is certified by August 20th. And you just have to have a provisional certification there. If this actually goes to an open convention, Are you going to skip out on Ohio? Are you going to skip out on Washington as a Democrat? Because certainly Washington, you're already going to get those electoral votes no matter who you put up. You're just going to throw that away. Ohio, right now, obviously, Trump is in the lead. Could that change if you throw someone else in there? Maybe they just give up on Ohio. But just the time of this is not on the side of the Democrats. And so if Biden is going to step aside, he's going to have to make that decision within the next few days. And there can't be a bunch of shadow campaigns. They can't go into an open convention.
No.
They have to be able to say one person, Kamala Harris, whomever it's going to be, is going to be the nominee. Otherwise, they're making this arguably even more difficult to.
7.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, did you hear that? By August 7th, whoever is the running candidate on the Republican and the Democrat side has to have already gone through the primary state to state, has to be the presumptive nominee, the paperwork filled out, put into law for the next election in Ohio. That's August 7th. Washington State. In order, so you have to have already officially nominated somebody who went through the primary election and is the presumptive and then the official nominated nominee by August 20th for Washington State. Washington State, I believe, is 13 or 14 electoral votes. If they remove Biden, even at the DNC, and replace him, Ohio is going to have Biden on there, even though Biden's not in the race because it's past the 7th. And it's too late. It's going to be too late for the Democrats to put someone on the ballot in Washington State, and they will lose Washington State. If they do that, Trump takes Washington because the Democrats didn't have someone officially to nominate. So when people like me who live in Washington are going to open up the ballot, and when it says for president under Democrat, a ghost. Well, Biden is like a ghost, you know. He's here, he's there, he's confused. He's just like phew, with the wind, shaking hands with ghosts. But in the Republican, Donald J. Trump. And so Trump automatically takes the state of Washington. Let's look at this. Do you remember the chaos that the Democrats caused leading up to the 2020 presidential election? I mean, with the whole, flu, with the lockdowns, with the attacks on Trump, with the attacks on him at the debate, with the fake Russia collusion, with impeachment, and then just everything else that happened around the election. And then between the election and then Biden's inauguration, all the fake news. We needed the 25th Amendment to take him out, take Trump's nuclear codes away, the Russian misinformation laptop. All the chaos they caused for Trump and the Republican National Convention and the Republican Party. Are they reaping what they sowed? If you look at the Democrats and where they are today, is it just me or does it look like they are reaping what they sowed? They sowed confusion. They sowed disorder. They sowed division in the country like never before. And now, behind Trump, there's unity like never before. The Republican Party is unified just overall like never before. And it's the Democrats that the ones who are divided, confused. 4 months left so July, August, September, October. 4 months. Exactly 4 months and 1 day until the election. And the Democrats don't have a candidate. While Trump, yes, I love this comment. Because their greed in 2020, thank you for this one, Terry. Their greed back in 2020 over how power hungry they were, plus how desperate they were to get Trump out. their greed is now. They didn't care who. As long as we get Trump out, we can throw this retard in. Now, their own greed is eating and destroying their party. I truly believe if the Democrats continue this course, 1, 2, 3 more election cycles at the most, their party will never win again. They won't be able to cheat their way in, steal their way in, rig their way in. Nothing will matter. I mean, just look at the poll numbers amongst African Americans, Hispanic Americans, white Americans, women, men, Gen Z. People are waking up and they're not going woke. They're awake, not woke. Ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. This is truly huge. And I believe it's going to be crazy. I mean, the Democrats, all the division and confusion they caused in 2020, they are now eating it themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, it's going to be crazy when Ukraine collapses. All the billions they've spent, their number one country of money laundering, is going to be gone. Yes, and I believe the Democratic Party needs to be labeled as a hate organization and should be illegal. Think about it. The Nazi Party, the communists in America, those are illegal political parties. Why? Because of their history and what they've done before. So how are Democrats not the same thing? I mean, party of the KKK, Jim Crow, segregation, lynching, human trafficking, drug smuggling. How are they even allowed to operate is beyond me. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate each and every one of you who has come in this live and joined me. Might do another live or just a video update tonight. Please do me a favor, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you are notified every time I upload. Share this video with a friend or two who say, Trump's a convicted felon. Send this video to them. God bless you. See you guys soon.